All right, it is 11:02 and we're going to get started. Last session of the day, right before lunch. So we want to keep this to a tidy 30 minutes because people are hungry. Like the applause. I'm going to assume everyone can see my screen. Maybe they can see me. Hope y'all enjoyed the other sessions that happened today. Some of you hopefully caught Tim Muse's session on the Power Platform. This is a little bit related to that. My name is Patrick Doran. I work for NCDIT Transportation. So all the work I do is for the NCDOT. I've been with the state since 2008, and I've been doing stuff online for about 20 years now. In my current role, I lead a team of 10 people, and we do everything from Sharepoint Online to public-facing websites and all sorts of stuff in between. Today, I want to talk about Power Automate. It's a tool that comes with most Microsoft licenses. So there's a fair chance that if you're on this call now, you are licensed for Power Automate. You can always check with your local subject matter expert to verify that. My hopes for today is that I can kind of go over it a little bit, introduce you to it, and we'll do, I'm going to try to do 4 demos, sort of a lightning round at the end of this, in hopes to show you some of the things that are possible. This won't be an advanced session for people who really already know Power Automate. If you know it well already, you're welcome to hang out. I'd love to hear about it in the chat. But my goal is to get more people into it, to introduce it to a newer crowd. Looking at the poll that went up early, seeing what the difference was as far as how many. It looks about 60-40 for the responses that were there. All right, so let's get into it. All right. A lot of folks work in government. Folks in this call work in government, and you might be here for a while. If you're in a 30-year career in the state, that's 1,500 weeks, 5 million minutes. Who's counting? What we're talking about today is repetitive tasks, the things you do once a week or twice a week. You got to do it. It's part of your job. It's generally always the same thing. We've all got them. Everyone on this call has an email report that they've got to send out, a reminder, a request. You're going to do it now. You're going to do it a decade from now. This is part of our professional life in government. I did some rough math right before this. If you're with government for 30 years and you've got a 1-minute task that you do every day, I email my boss a status report. I, add something to a SharePoint list somewhere to track something. That's 8 days over your total career. That's a week. Taxpayers are paying for it. And so a question we can all ask ourselves is, what can we do to automate some of that? Not your entire job, not an entire application, but what can you do as an individual contributor to, take the repetitive tasks that you sort of autopilot and really make them autopilot so you can focus on using your brain for the harder parts of your job. Those are the examples that I'll cover today. All right, so Power Automate, it can run in your browser. So if you've got Chrome or Edge, those are great browsers to use for it. You log in with your Microsoft account. So for folks with a state, that's you're used to that if you sign into Teams or Outlook on the web. It's the same with Power Automate. You get there by just going to office.com, signing in there. It can be complicated, but it is also very easy to get into, and it's very well documented online. One of the advantages that we all have working with Microsoft products is, we're not the only ones. Like, you can go and Google something for Excel, and you're probably not the first person to do it. And someone's posted an answer online. Power Automate, as part of the Microsoft Power Platform, is super well documented. And both on Microsoft.com, elsewhere on the internet, there's a fair chance if you're trying to do something, someone else has already done it. And at the end of the slides, they've got links to documentation and learning paths that you can jump into on your own as you as you try to find something in your own professional life that you can put on autopilot. And you may already be licensed for it. If you're an agency that is part of NCDIT state tenant, you may already be licensed for it. If you're, in another local government, I don't know, but you should talk to your Microsoft SME there to find out what you're licensed for, and what those capabilities are. All right. Saw the new, the most recent Spider-Man movie last weekend, so I've been thinking about that a lot. Power Automate it's got the word power in it, and it's the real deal. You can email a bunch of people you didn't mean to email. You can delete a bunch of documents in a document library in SharePoint. You can send out too many Teams notifications. So Uncle Ben, he said, great power comes great responsibility. Clearly, he was talking about Power Automate then. Spider-Man's just tangentially involved. So when you think about building something in Power Automate, one is, if you're unsure where to start, reach out to your SME as part of your agency. And then a good question I like to ask is what I'm building for me to make my job easier for myself so I can, work on harder problems? Or is it for a team of people, or, something where like 10 different people are working in it? That may be to me, that's a helpful differentiator between whether I should just build it on my own because it helps me, or I should reach out to, your subject matter expert to find out, what's a good strategy to build this that involves more people. There are 231 of us on the call right now. One of y'all will win the lottery at some point and move to Fiji, and I'm super happy for you. What you want to do before you win the lottery is think about, if I built something in Power Automate and my numbers come in, is this something I can, transfer to someone else or other people involved, things like that. So just when you use a tool, be considerate, to the coworkers who did not win the lottery. All right. So what can I automate? Power Automate comes with a bunch of built-in things that connect unrelated systems like Legos. So email and Teams approval, or a SharePoint list and Microsoft Forms, and like a ton of other of these connectors as well. So you could use Power Automate to listen for an email from your boss and show you a little notification in Teams if that's where your attention is. You could use Power Automate to take a public-facing Microsoft form and send you a Teams notification, or put that information into a SharePoint list. Lots of possibilities. Depending on what your licensing is, you'll have some connectors, some you won't. There are multiple tiers of licensing. Most folks in the state tenant will have the standard tier, which comes with most of the things you see on the screen right now and a whole bunch of others. If you talk to your SME, there's extra money involved in getting a premium license, which opens up other applications and other connectors that you can use with Power Automate. So you want to automate a thing. How does it start? What is the thing that kicks it off? What is the event that occurs? So Power Automate within the browser itself has 3 primary ways to start automating your thing. Whether that's a special kind of way to route an email, or you want a reminder about something, or you want to listen for a new form submission, whatever those are. There's automated, that is sort of running and waiting for something to happen. So you make a new Power Automate flow that's automated, the bold word there on the slide, and it sits there and listens 24/7, 365, waiting for something to happen. The next kind is an instant flow, where there's a Power Automate app that you could put on a phone or an iPad, or you can add it as a sort of a menu item in a SharePoint list. So that's waiting for someone to push a button to do a thing, to start your automation, to start your Power Automate flow. And the third one is scheduled. So if you know that at the end of the month, you've got a financial report that's due and you got to send it to your boss every month without fail. Maybe you've written a Power Automate that, grabs a document from here and grabs one from there and, puts them in the same folder together, or sends you a notification on Teams, or does something like that. It's based on a time, and you can define, and we'll do one of these as an example, whether you want that to happen, every day or once a year or whatnot. So you've got some flexibility there, and we'll go over that in the demo. Checking the chat to see if okay. All right. So there's enough slides. Slides are like right before lunch. It's impossible. So we're gonna jump into doing stuff in the browser. This is the most terrifying possible presentation, live demoing something. So I ask for grace and forgiveness if it doesn't work out. The 4 things that we're going to try to do in the 17 minutes we got left is a scheduled Power Automate flow that runs and reminds us to wish our boss a happy birthday. Second one is we'll tell our Power Automate to listen to our email and grab an attachment. Third one is we will connect Microsoft Forms to a SharePoint list. And number 4, if we've got time, is we'll do some approval emails using Power Automate, Microsoft Approvals, and Microsoft Teams. And that's kind of cool to see. So the last slide, and I'll just flash it quickly. I've got some links. These slides will be made available after the presentation, so you don't have to worry about it now. And if you will bear with me, I'm going to change what screen I'm sharing. Okay. And can I get a thumbs up if y'all can see a browser that says Power Automate from anybody? Also take a cheer or a hello or something. All right. Oh, good. Maybe an audible yes or no. Okay, I see some applause. All right, thank you. Awesome. All right. And so how do we get this? How do we dive into this? From your browser, you can go to office.com. That is pretty easy to remember. I'm already logged in. It may ask you to log in yours. Here's our waffle menu up here. Looks like waffles. Saying waffles right before lunch is rough, but we'll get there. All right. Here we are. Power Automate. All right. Here's the browser Power Automate application. For me, it says state of North Carolina. If you're in a municipality, if you're outside of state, yours may say something different. But I know I'm signed in because I can see my icon. And helpful stuff on the homepage. There's learning information here, how to get started. Some of that's video training. Some of it's in the browser. Lots of news and details. Over here on the left side, this will be different depending on what your license is, but for the most part, you'll see your home button, a chance to approve things, all the flows that you've created, which we'll get to in a second. A whole bunch of other capabilities that are far above and beyond what we could talk about in 30 minutes. But it's one of the great things about Power Automate is that it's very accessible up front. You can jump in and be successful right away. But if you're working with the team of developers, there's also some pretty robust capabilities in there. And there's more there for sure. This templates section is pretty handy because that's going to give you ideas about what's possible. So, here are all the little connectors, the little Legos, and how they might group together in a way that's useful. You can certainly start here and jump in, or you can start fresh. You've got some. If you want to create a new Power Automate, I'm going to do that right now. We're gonna start fresh. All right. First one we're going to do is sending an email on a schedule. All right, so I want this to be a scheduled cloud flow. I'm going to click on this. And it's going to give me a box. It's going to ask me a little bit about it and when I want it to run. All right, so call this email the boss birthday. All right, and I want to run this starting today. Now, if I were doing this for real, I'd remember when my boss's birthday actually is, and I would put it in here based on that date. So if my boss's birthday is, June 6th, set it to that. You can configure the time approximately. And then it's going to ask me how often I want this to run. And the default is 1 minute, but I might want to do this, every, 12 months. Only want this to happen one time. For purposes of this demo, I'm going to set it to every few minutes because I don't want to put this in wrong. All right. And I'm being told to, yes, send it every minute all day. Yeah, and if your boss likes that constant and unending praise and approval of a happy birthday message, you're more than welcome to do that. All right. So I've named my Power Automate flow. I've said how often I want it to run. Let's actually make it. All right. Recurrence. How often does this happen? So what I want to do next is I want to tell Power Automate what tool in the toolbox to use. And that's going to be email. So next step. And here's where I'm given all the different tools in the toolbox. There's a lot here. Not all of it you may be licensed for. Not all of it may be available in your tenant or allowed under your agency's rules. So check with your SME first, your Microsoft SME. All right, but the search box is pretty great. So I know I'm going to use Outlook. And here are our actions, the thing we want to have happen. And they're great. They're in plain English. And it's the verb that you want. Send an email. All right, and I'm seeing a question. How is this different than setting an Outlook calendar? Yeah, it's like we're setting an Outlook calendar reminder, but what we're going to do differently here is we're actually going to email our boss. And our boss is never going to know that we've automated this happy birthday message. So, right tool for the right job. Sometimes an Outlook reminder is what you want, but we're actually going to send the happy birthday message to our boss. All right, I picked send an email, and what you get is something that looks kind of like an email message. Now, my boss is in a meeting right now, so I'm definitely not spamming them with birthday messages. But I'm just going to put my own address in there. And you saw how it did that lookup. So you could type in anyone who's in your particular directory. Boss. All right. So I've added the subject. I've added a heartwarming message, how happy I am for them. I've got lots of other options about, maybe who the message is from or if I want to BC somebody. But I think this is really from the heart here. All right, so I'm going to save it. And Power Automate's always telling you what's going on. Here's this green confirmation that it's saved successfully. And it will tell you if something's wrong. You'll see this flow checker up here. Will tell you if you've put two things together that don't work, or maybe you've forgotten something important. It'll give you warnings. It's also a tool to test it. We'll cover that a little bit later. All right, so we just automated a flow. We can now know that our boss will get an email every 5 minutes because that's how we set it up, but once a year. All right, so I'm going to go back to my flows. Here's everything I've made. Here's the one I just made. And I can see with a little stopwatch icon, I know that's scheduled. Giving it a helpful name. Shows me the last time I edited it. And I can watch over it. All right, if I clicked on, all right, tell me my flow is ready to go. That is great. All right. So right now, behind the scenes, in 5 minutes, hopefully, and we'll come back to this one. Power Automate will send an email. It will come from me. It will show up. It'll actually show up in my sent messages and send a birthday message to my boss. Every time it runs, it'll list out here. All right, good question. What about adding an attachment to the flow? I wonder if we're covering that. We might cover that later, but it's a capability that's there for sure. So if you wanted to attach, an animated GIF or something birthday related, that capability is definitely there. All right. We will let that run for a few minutes and then we'll check our Outlook after the next demo and see if that message showed up. So we're going to let that simmer. All right. Let's do saving a document from an email into SharePoint. So a ton of us here in state government use SharePoint, and I'm sure in outside agencies as well. There is if you're in a position where someone emails you a report once a week, it's always the same report. It's always the same document. It's always an Excel file with this month's numbers. It's always from the same person. If it's repeatable, you can capture that attachment with Power Automate and store it in a library. And if you were to go even a step beyond that, you could tell Power Automate to even move your email out of your inbox and just so it just shows up on the library in the library on its own. Lots you can do with repeatable emails. So sometimes you get those messages, they're not from a human, they're from some sort of server or automated process. You can capture those documents. So let's do that. Let's make a new flow. Now, this is going to be an automated one. I'm going to call this one get email attachment. Email. All right. So because we've picked an automated flow, this is the one that just runs silently in the background, doing its own thing. It doesn't matter what time it is. It's not like we're scheduling it. So we need to tell it what event, what trigger to run it on. And, all these, so many possibilities. Luckily, there's a search. And I'm going to say, let's say email arrives. All right, here we go. When a new email arrives, pick that. So I've named it, it's automated. When it arrives, I'm getting the 5-minute warning. All right, I better go faster. All right, here we go. So this Power Automate is going to be listening for messages. And we need to tell it what kind of message it is. And here is my entire me, because I'm the Flow developer. My inbox here are all the folders that I've got. And, yours will look different because your folders might be different. For the sake of, all right, I know these are coming to me, so I'm going to put my own email address in the to field. That's who's receiving it. It's to me. And in this case, this demo is going to come from me. All right. Now I know in this monthly report that I get, it's always the same subject line, and that's what's going to help me hook into this. All right, so I know that every month I get an email from test report PDF, and it always has an attachment. So a lot of this is configuration. It's describe the email that you want Power Automate to respond to. All right, so I've got that. Go to the next step. Now I want something to happen. Now I want to get the attachment out of that email. So I know the message is here. Let's grab that document. All right. Here. Get attachment. So again, plain English, that's, you're telling Power Automate what to do. So I've said, wait for this email to arrive. If it's got this subject line that matches, go ahead and grab the attachment. Now this is a little bit more in-depth. I won't go into it a lot, but each of these steps has access to the previous step. And you'll see this add dynamic value box. And what that'll say is, I want to take something I did in the first step and give it to the next step. So the trigger is when an email arrives, share some of that information with this next piece. All right, so this is asking me for message ID. Here it is. That's the ID of the email that came through. And now it's asking for the attachments ID. Same thing, I'm going to say get the attachments from the email. Attachments ID. All right. Now something different happened with this one. This is different. So said, all right, wait for my email to get here, grab those attachments. But you see, apply to each. That showed up. Power Automate knows it's a fair chance if somebody attaches one document, they might attach two. And that's what's happening here. Power Automate's like, unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to do this to all the attachments that come through. All right, so got these documents. We got to put them somewhere. So I have a SharePoint library that I've already made up here. Just like any SharePoint library you work in, and I want my attachments to appear here. Better go quick because I'm running out of time. All right, next step. Let's make a file in our SharePoint library. So I'm going to search for the word SharePoint here. And create a file. There we go. SharePoint one's pretty powerful. All these connectors, it'll ask you for the name of the SharePoint site. What folder to put it in. This is going into Conference Demo Library. And then it's going to say, all right, well, what do I call the file? Well, I want to use the same file name that was in the attachment. That makes sense. So I'm going to insert this dynamic value again. All right. Here is when my email arrives. I want to get attachment name. See it. Did the apply to all again. Now I want to get the content of the file. That's what this file content is. The stuff inside. All right. So I've told Power Automate to wait for an email to arrive, get any attachments from it, and for each attachment, make a library in this SharePoint file. I'm going to save it. So it's saving. It's looking good. I don't have any errors. It's 11:30, so I'm going to go real quick back over to my Outlook inbox. Let's see if our boss's email arrived. There we go. Look at that. All right. So I just used Power Automate in the first demo to send an email to my boss. It waited a few minutes, showed up just now. Here's that message I typed in, and it comes from me. It's not coming from Power Automate server or whatnot. It's coming from me. So I don't ever have to worry about sending a message to my boss again for their birthday. I've covered it. All right. I will hang on for just a minute to do a sample of this, and I'll screen share that. I will leave the audio off because we're at the end of our time. We'll make sure these slides are shared. Sorry I didn't get to them all, but I hope this was helpful for y'all in understanding just that you can do some pretty quick, useful things with Power Automate. Make sure if you're in the state tenant, you sign up for the All Things Microsoft 365 user group. Ton of smart people out there. Great place to get help and great place to get questions answered. And I will turn my camera audio off. I'll screen share at the end of this, and I'll hang out in the chat for a few minutes. Again, my name is Patrick Doran. Appreciate y'all's time, and I hope y'all have a great afternoon. Thanks.